Rabbi Wilhelm, Shalom Aleichem.
Aleichem Shalom, Ben Zion. How are you? It's freezing cold.
Yeah,
Freezing.
I'm happy that I caught you over here just before you're going skiing.
Can you imagine me on the ski slopes? Anyways, it's Ben Zion. This week we have to take Chizuk. It's Shabbos Chazak. Now, it says in the Aruch HaShulchan, some people have the minhag that they say Chazak, Chazak, Chazak 3 times. Because when you count the 3 times Chazak, it's B'gematria Moshe. But we're not so busy only telling other people Chazak. We have a different nusach. Most Klal Yisrael, we say Chazak, Chazak, and hopefully with this Chazak, we'll get some strength. We've spoken about that many times. By helping others, you get more strength. You get strength in yourself. Anyways, but it's interesting. We say it not only once, Chazak. We say it twice, Chazak, Chazak, and then V'nis Chazak. The number 2 in this week's parsha is pretty much found a couple of times. When Yosef and Yaakov speak about the Geula, the Geula Shlema, we know it says Pakait Pakadati, that when the signal comes of Pakait Pakadati, then you know Mashiach is coming, and that's the time to take me out. Now, why is everything in double? We find by it says, I think the Alshich and other Svarim, it says that most of the Goyalim, all our Gulas, were done by 2 people, Moshe Aaron, Mordechai Esther. What's shot in the 2? And we find that when the Eibishter says to Avram Avinu that the kids will be brought into Golus, the Eibishter says to Avram, Yodoya Teda Kigei Yezaracha. Now, it's very interesting that the Eibishter says to Avram Avinu, your kids will be in Golus, and by Stein, Avram stands up and makes a fight and fights for Stein. Here he has terrible news. You would think it's terrible news. And Avram, all right, you want us in Mitzrayim 400 years? Zolzain. Why didn't he stand up and beg the Eibush to please? He fought for Mrs. Dain. Why didn't he fight for his own kids? And yet it says Yodoya Teda. When the Eibush says to Moshe to take the Yidden out of Mitzrayim, he says Roi Roisi as again a double lashon. Yodoya Teda, Roi Roisi. What's going on here? So I saw from the Ben Ish Chai a very interesting. I think it was the Ben Ish Chai. You know, when you look through a lot of Svarim, so he says that typically the world is controlled by 1 or 2 midas of the Eibishter, either the midas harachamim or lahavdol or midas hadin. Usually it's the positive, or sometimes it's rachmana litzlan din. There are some times that even something that seems to be din, deep down, is really rachamim. But it takes time to realize it. When the Eibishter says to Avram Avinu, Eibishter says the Yidden will be in Golus, or throughout the generations we hear Pakad Pakadati and Roi Reisi. It's because this is unique. Despite the fact that Golus is shver, despite the fact that Golus is difficult, it actually is not din. You'll see the depth of it once we are zoicha. You'll see it's actually rachamim. It's rachmana litzlan. The dogma they give, if somebody is sick and he has to take bitter medication, it doesn't taste good, but ultimately it's a good thing. The whole system that the Eibishter made that Yidden should go in Golus is for, as it says, we have to be mevarer the tzaitzis, all these things. We have to. It's merumas in the two words for Golus and Geula, because really the whole thing, this is not good or bad. Everything about it, when you get through it and you pass the test, you see it's only good. Specifically the Golus, as much, and we've heard the Rebbe cry about Golus, but there's obviously the Eibishter didn't punish the Jews by putting us in Golus. The Eibishter wants us to accomplish something, to reach higher, and that's why it says in these 2 lashonos everything throughout Golus and Geula. We also find it that when the Yaakov is going to bless his grandkids, we again find Menashe and Ephraim and the whole thing with he switches their hands. And over here we find also funny things. But Chatchila, when the kids are brought to him, Nistalka Mimenu Shchina, he couldn't bless them. Why? Because he saw that from this one comes the terrible Yeravam. For this one will come out the terrible Yehu, whatever. So he sees negative. And then he blesses them because he says from this one comes Gideon, and this one comes Yeshua. So you see the balance. And the fact that he ultimately was able to see that from everything there is good, he gave them a blessing. The Shekhinah came back, and Dafka, the one that has Yeshua, even though Gideon was a very big tzaddik, but because Yeshua helped the Yidden, Klal Yisrael, and helped them with a permanent Yeshua, that's why Ephraim gets the bracha first, because he has a greater tzaddik coming from him. I just want to conclude. I once heard of art that the Torah finishes with the words Le'enei Kol Yisrael, and the first word is Bereshis. So we know that it's a lesson in life that a person has to know. Le'enei Kol Yisrael. Everybody should have this in mind, that I could always start Bereshis. I could always start new. Whatever happened. I could always start fresh. I was thinking the same thing you could just say in the Seder of Parshas and Chumash Bereshis. Vaychi Bereshis. A person only has life, spirit, if he knows he could always start fresh now. As it says in this week's Parsha, Vayivarchim Vayoymahu Hashem, Yaakov gave the bracha Vayoymahu. What did he mean? Don't worry about yesterday. Don't worry about tomorrow. If you always think about today, today's a new day. I can start fresh. That's the biggest bracha a person could have, and that's the biggest chizuk, that you could forget the past and just grow and grow and grow.
Shkoyach.